Okay, so I believe this is day 4 of, not day 4 rather, sorry, the 4th video in the series. So in this video, we're going to be doing the wardrobe API and the image upload plus AI tagging. The AI tagging is not the real deal, it's just like a mock-up of it, just to show that it works. Just like printing out some messages. So we're going to be dealing with or starting with the serializers.py file. So here we we have the season serializer. So the season serializer converts the season object into JSON. So let's go back to season model. So the season model, it can only ever have 4 items in it. That's spring, summer, fall, and winter. Nothing more, nothing less, because they're based on those 4 choices, right? Okay, so that is the season serializer. Now the wardrobe item serializer is inheriting from the model serializer. Yeah, we already knew that stuff. Okay, so the seasons um, field here is going to define the read-only field for the seasons. So for the wardrobe item serializer, we're going to have 2 like season fields. One is the read-only and one is the write-only. So the read-only is the output, what you're going to see, but you cannot edit. And the season IDs is the one that is write-only, which is what you can edit but you cannot read, basically. So what it does is that it tells the season serializer that we just wrote here, that we're going to nest this full season object. That is, let's say for example, it returns something like ID. So the ID is 1, and then name is 4. Remember the season and or model can only have 4 things. Okay, let's say we have something like this now. So it's going to, that's what we're going to have stored here, right? The many equals true means that it's just telling us that the seasons is a collection or list. It's not alone, and it's only read only. You can only get it, right. You cannot post or put or patch it. Now the season IDs, which is our write only field, is what it basically expects raw primary keys. It basically expects you to write to it using this ID. This ID is the primary key, right? So it expects you to write to it just using ID1, ID2, ID3, or ID4. Yes. So that is the serializers of primary key related field. So it's just going to connect it to the season serializer. The query set, it provides the DB validation set. So when a client sends something like let me see, season IDs, and just says 1 5. So like this this is going to send a bad request, because like I said, the season will only have 4 things, that is fall, winter, summer, and spring. So 5 doesn't exist, so this is not going to work. So if there's something like 1 3, that would mean that, oh, this wardrobe item is going to belong to, what's the first one we have here? It's going to belong to spring and fall, right? Spring and fall. Or okay, so if it were the season IDs were 1 and 3, it's going to be my bad. Python starts Python and JavaScript start counting from 0. So I apologize, I made a mistake. I counted from 1. So they start counting from 0. So this is 0 1 2. and 3. So 0 is this. So 1, that will be summer and winter. So basically, it would mean that the season IDs we're sending is summer and winter. So I'm just using explain just this few. So now let's actually get into it and explain the whole thing line by line. So I said the query set, it's runs an SQL check against the season model to ensure that ID 1 and 3 exist. If I said ID 5, that doesn't exist, so it's going to return bad request. But if it's ID 1 and 3, they do exist, so it's going to work, right? So the query set basically just does like a database validation. So it ensures that, okay, if this value that was sent from the front end, does it actually exist in the database? And if it does, then we move on to the next step. So, which is the right step, like writing to the database. Okay, so the next one is many equals true. So basically, it allows us to do something like this, like send more than one ID or push more than one season at the same time. So you could also do just push just one, or if you wanted to do 1, 2, 3, then that is allowed due to this option. Write only through makes it only you can only write to it, you cannot read it. Now the source, this is what actually helps us connect to the seasons model. It's the bridge, right? So if you didn't add this, you're going to make DRF look for a database column that doesn't exist, a database column season ID that doesn't exist. Required false makes season assignments optional during item creation. So basically, a client can create a wardrobe item without adding a season yet. So this here, what we did here, we just created two fields, seasons and season IDs field. Now this is the main serializer configuration. So the model is wardrobe item. These are the fields that we have. You can see that we have seasons and season IDs listed here, that's not in the model supply. So there are new fields that we're adding. Then read only fields, these are fields that we can only read, we cannot write to them. So now you may be wondering, why on earth do we have two seasons, um, two two seasons fields? Why can't we just have one? Remember I said this is the read only, this is the output field, this is the input field. So why can't we just use a single field that says something like seasons is serializers, the primarily related field? Why can't we have only this, or why can't we have only this? Now the reason is actually pretty simple. Now let me show you. Let me explain that. Let's say if we remove the season IDs, for example, and we're left with only this, right? We're not going to include read only true. If that was the case, we would delete this. Okay, let me do that. Let me delete this. And let me delete this too. So if we use just this, right? Why can't we just use just the season serializer, the nested objects, right? Basically, what it means is that if we make a get request for this serializer, we're going to get something like the, let me say, the ID, which is 1. We're going to get the name, which should be 4, just like that. That's what we're going to get. But when we want to make the post request, this is like get, this is what we're going to get as the response, right? It's great for getting the, like, for getting responses. But if we wanted to do like the post, What it means is that when we want to make a post to it, is that we would have to, let me see. Name. Let's say this is four, right? Let me say this is in curly brackets. Then we have another curly brackets, and then we have like ID2, and then name or maybe winter. Now, this is what you would get when you are fetching it, when you're making a get fetch to it. But if you're making a post call, what it means is that you would have to include the name of the wardrobe item, obviously. Let's say it's leather jacket. Now, when we want to make the seasons call, it means that we have to write out everything, meaning that we would have to do okay, this ID is one, the name is four, which is not good. This is very bad. You would have to send nested objects to the via the front end, which is not a good idea at all. So I'm doing ID2. I think you guys are seeing my point, right? How about I'm explaining this properly? Basically, if you use these seasons for the season serializer, this if you use this read-only seasons, the get request would be fine. You would get easily readable an easily readable response. But when you're making a post request now, you would have to send the name of the leather jacket, which is fine, as in the name of the wardrobe item, sorry, which is leather jacket. And then if you want to now put the seasons for this wardrobe item, it means that you would have to write out you would have to send nested objects to it. You would have to put ID and name, which is not good UX. It's not good. It's not a good decision. Now you could risk um data corruption, or just like mixing up or scratching your backend code by doing something like that, right? So the front end shouldn't have to define or send the season names. There's no reason for that. What if the client sends something like ID is one, ID is one, and name is autumn. There's no way you could verify this or validate that. Oh, this does not. This autumn. It's not a part of this season choices we have here. You're just going to corrupt the data that you have in your database. You're going to corrupt your backend, right? So this is not um, the right option to take. Now, if we tried if we used only the right only field, so if we imagine we deleted this line here and we used just this and removed, let me say, removed the right only and required false. So if we did that, and we're using the season IDs for both the reading and the writing, it means we want to make a post to a post request. It's going to be a good idea because you're going to post something like name, leather jackets, and then the seasons. You don't have to write out the nested object. All you have to do is just do a simple array like this: seasons one and two. That's all. Chicken up. But this is the post request, right? What if you wanted to do the get? The get is not going to be pretty because what you're going to get back is something like this: seasons 1 and 2, which is not going to be nice because then you have to start mapping. Oh, this one, who does it? What does it belong to in the season model? This is going to cause a lot of breakdown in the application. So it will just be best to have both a read and write field. It's the better option to take here. Okay, so this keeps the. And so that was serializers.py file. Now let's take a look at services.py file now. Oh my god. So here the services.py file is the service layer. It is the purpose of this is to keep external operations out of views. So anything that requires you to make requests to that would require you to make a request to an external what do I want to call this now? An external service now. This is where it's going to be. So in this case it's Cloudinary. So I'm going to import the Cloudinary upload functionality. Then this is the typing the typing support, like TypeScript. Okay. Um so we're going to this function upload image to Cloudinary. We're going to take an uploaded file and return a string URL. So basically what this means is that this function is going to return a string format, right? So the the response variable Cloudinary.uploader.upload file. So whatever is sent, the file is going to be uploaded to Cloudinary. The image is going to be uploaded to Cloudinary and stored in the Cloudinary folder Charis/upload. Okay. Then it's going to return a URL. So we're going to get the URL that Cloudinary uploaded it to. So Cloudinary is going to return the information about the uploaded file, and then this line is going to retrieve that HTTP URL. But if in the case that the Cloudinary did not return the URL, that is, if not secure URL, we're going to return this error. Cloudinary upload did not return the secure URL. Then we're going to, but if that was not the case, we're going to return secure URL. So returning that is a string that we're expecting to get from this function. Okay, the next function is the enqueue tagging job. This is the AI tagging, um, queue I was talking about. You can see it's not doing the main deal. So you're just logging this to the console. So it's just a stop. We're just printing to the console now. When we'll get into more details of this in week 2. So basically, what this is going to look like later on is that when you upload an image, we're going to queue it to the AI job. Then the AI job will converse with the worker. Then the AI analyzes the clothing and then updates the tagging status that you saw here. Yes. So if it's done, it returns done. If it fails, it's going to return failed. That's basically the idea. Okay, now let's look at the views.py file. Views.py file. Oh, this is where the main API logic lives. So here we are going to use the view set instead of API views. I chose API views for the account views.py because that one was relatively simpler. So for in this case, I chose view set because it's going to be a bit more complex to use, and because it also provides inbuilt functions like the get, the post, the put, the pass, and the delete. So let's get into it. So this is the first. Let me close the side. This is the first one. The serializer class is going to be linked to the wardrobe items serializer. So it tells the view set which serializer to use. Then the permission classes is authenticated and its owner. So basically what it means is that the user must be logged in and the user must be the owner of this wardrobe item. So it's basically for privacy. User A should not be able to modify user B's place. Next is the pagination class. So the pagination class is coming from the common, where is it? Common dot permissions. Let me actually just explain what we have there. Then we'll come back to view supply. So, so explaining the files in the common folder. There's models, pagination, and permissions.py. So the models.py, we have the timestamp and model. So every model inherited from this common model is going to get a UUID ID. I think I've explained this before, but I'll just go right there. Then we have a created add field, which is created automatically, and updated add field, which is updated automatically too. So the class meta abstract true is basically the most important part of this common model, because what it means is that Django doesn't create a timestamp model table. So instead, these fields, ID, created as and updated as, are going to be copied into the child models that are going to inherit from it. Basically, what I'm saying is that you normally in your models.py file, whenever you have a new model created, it's going to create a new table in the database. But for this one, we don't want that. We just want to have these fields to be copied into another model when it inherits from it. So it's basically an abstract based model. Next, let's look at the pagination.py file. So the pagination prevents the API from returning thousands of records at once. So the standard result set pagination is going to extend from the built-in DRF page number pagination, and we're just going to see the page size is 10, so basically 10 items per page. Then the page size query param is page size. So like if you add it um in your URL, for example, you're going to have like slash page blah blah blah, blah like slash page underscore size. That's just what it's that's just what it means. Okay. Okay, so back here. Next, the max page size is 100. So basically, they cannot request more than 100. So it protects the API from unnecessarily huge responses. That's pagination.py. Next is permissions.py, and it handles authorization. So class is owner is a custom permission we created to ensure the user can only access or modify objects where the object that user matches requested. It only allows users to access objects that belongs to them. That's just what it means. So the function has object permission, right? Calls this when checking permission for a particular object. So it checks, does the object have a user? Okay. If it has the user, is the user the logged in user? Do we have this user? If yes, is the user the logged in user, the user that's currently logged in? So if user A is logged in, so user A accesses wardrobe A, user B accesses wardrobe B. So user A cannot access wardrobe B, and vice versa. Okay, so back to models.py. No, sorry, views.py rather. Yes, so the pagination class is standard result sets pagination. Okay, now the parser classes. This is what enables file upload along with standard JSON. So it allows the endpoint to accept multi-part or form data or JSON. That's basically what it does. So the get query set function, it returns a it's it filters the wardrobe items based on whichever user is logged in, right? So it's basically doing this, it's confirming that the user logged in can only access the wardrobe items that belongs to it. So user A can only access its old wardrobe items. So let's say I really wish I had like a whiteboard right now. Let's say in the database we have user A, we have user A shoes A, user B dress B bag B. So user A can only access the things that belong to it, right? So it can only access user A and shoes A. So it's just filtering it. It's filtering out the things that don't belong to it and keeping the things that belong to it. Perform create function. This is what runs when creating a new wardrobe item. So first of all, we have this image file. So we're going to look for an uploaded file called image. The image URL is going to be empty. Now, if image file, basically, if the user uploaded an image, send it to Cloudinary. So we're calling this function that we created, imported from the services.py that we spoke about before. Then um, we're then attaching the file that was uploaded to it, and then we're going to save it. So we're going to call serializer.save, and then image URL equals image URL. Basically, the URL that we're going to get from here, let me open services.py. I know it's going to return secure URL, right? That's what it's going to return. So basically, image URL is going to equal secure URL. But because the variable that we gave to the function is image URL, that's why it's going to be image URL equals image URL. So if that is what it does, so it saves the item and the cardinal image URL. So it then calls the enqueue tagging job, this, and it's going to print the item ID. So the item ID is what we sent to it. It's going to print that. Okay. So basically, once the wardrobe item is created, AI tagging job is killed, and then print. Right now it's just print. Now, the next is our special custom endpoint for an individual wardrobe item. Okay. So the function logware. So this function or this action that we just created, it's going to expect an item ID. So we're going to make the way the post request is going to look like is post to slash API slash wardrobe slash items slash the ID slash where, oh my bad, where. So this ID is going to be filled by this PK detail. So the item self or get object gets that specific item, the specific item, the ID from like when we mentioned the ID, we're going to get the specific item connected to the item ID. So, and because the query set is already user equals self, sorry, or wardrobe items or object or filter, blah blah blah, that already helps us to prevent a user trying to have access to another user's wardrobe item. So next um where is it? Yes. So you can see I already put it in the comments here. First is user ownership, where get query set. So next we create a WearLog. So basically, if there was like a button on the front end that says I wore this today or did I wear this today, if you click that button, it's just going to translate to like I wore this today. So it's just going to keep a log of the clothes or the wardrobe items you've worn today. So the wardrobe item, this is what I wore, and the one date, this is the date I wore it. So the return response is basically just logged where for this item, the WearLog ID and the one date. That is just all about the wardrobe views.py. Then let me just briefly walk you through the urls.py, and then I'll get back to, remember I said in the models.py, I said there's a bit of an issue here because I said times one is updated after each WearLog, not manually, and times one was never mentioned in the views.py in this logware function. So I'm going to have to fix that soon. But let me just take it to urls.py. So this helps us to automatically generate URL for the view sets instead of having to manually write it or type it out one by one. So we create the router when we import this default router. So it registers slash items. That's what this means here. With the view sets. So it's going to give us something like get slash items, post slash items, get slash items slash ID, put slash items slash ID. This is from the custom endpoint we made using the at action. Patch slash items slash ID. Hold on, I think I made a mistake. Okay, now this one is for slash items slash ID slash where. This is different. Okay. Now the slash item slash ID slash where is the custom action page, while the other put patch delete slash item slash ID is due to the view set itself. Okay, so that is the wardrobe. Now let me fix that little bug I mentioned before here. So currently the logware function only logs an entry for the specific item. It doesn't do what I said it should do, which is update this counter, this times one counter. So to fix that, what we are going to do is increment it, and it might be the way you are thinking, right? So we could say item, right, dot times underscore one plus equal one. This is going to increment it, right? Increment it immediately. Then we're going to have item dot save update underscore fields equal. So we're going to update this times one field times one. Times underscore one. So, so now this few lines of code I just wrote, what it does is that now when you visit the slash item slash ID slash where endpoint here and create a WearLog, the times one um, field is going to get updated. Now, why did I use just update field? So basically what it does is that we're targeting this specific field, right? We're not trying to update every field in the wardrobe item, just this specific field. But the problem with this version now is that what if I have two open sites, like two open sites of this localhost 8000, sorry, and on this site or let me say I have one here on my open on my system, and I have one open on my phone, and then simultaneously I click the counter button, like the I create a or I log a word, right? Okay, I word this today, right? Simultaneously, basically two requests happening at the same time. So if that happens, let's say before it was maybe I've won the fit 3 times. Now, normally, if I'm pressing it one on my laptop, that's supposed to be 3 plus 1, that's 4. And then I press it again on my phone, that's supposed to be 3 plus 1 plus 1, that's supposed to be 5. But because I pressed it simultaneously, because the two requests are happening simultaneously, it's just going to read as 3 plus 1, 4. But we don't want that, that is wrong, because the item was won twice. So if you want to receive concurrent requests and keep them properly stored, Django's F expressions are a better option. So I'm going to import from, let me see if I have it here. I don't. So I'm going to import from Django.db.models. I am going to import F, right? Yeah. I'm going to import F, and then let's go back down. I'm going to wrap my, I'm going to wrap this. I'm going to say this is equal to F, and then times underscore 1 plus 1. 1. Remember, Python is case sensitive. Okay, so then item.save update field plus times 1. So basically, what it does is that what this does is times underscore 1 is going to be equals to times underscore 1 plus 1. So it's not just doing plus equals, it's going to add it. So this is a nice concept to learn, right? Let's see if what happens if I say yes. So the F class is an object capable of resolving references to existing query object. Okay, so that is all for day 1 to day 7. For day 7